I can't believe this is really happening. It's I know it was going to happen one day, but it's still, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. You know, this chapter is the beginning chapter of the final arc of Gintama. Now, this is not no troll, because you know when Gintama makes an announcement, it's usually from the manga, or probably Shonen Jump makes the announcement. And this is a legit thing. This is the start of the final arc. And we had heard news about, you know, Gintama entering its final arc, and it either will end this year or next year. That is still not too sure of on the author's side. But Gintama, as of today, July 10th, 2016, Gintama has entered its final arc. Now, after being a you know, consistent reader and watcher of the anime for nearly 6 years, it's gonna leave a certain taste in my mouth when I see the final chapter and when it finally closes. But before I can get all sentimental on that, I'm going to tell you about this chapter. Now, this chapter being the, you know, the beginning of the end, we see where Oboro is about to take his final moments. If he did not take it in the last chapter, he's taking his final moments, and he's telling, you know, before Yoshida Shoyo died, he had this type of resisting spirit about himself, one that wanted to push Yutsuro as far back as he can within his body, but at the same time he knew he was going to lose to this darkness of him, this overwhelming shadow. And before he died, it's basically he left a will, and that will was to continue to resist the darkness, to always have this strong soul about yourself. And he left that with his students back at the temple. And you know who his students are: Ginto, Hikasura, Takasugi. And because they have that about themselves, it continued on passing on to those that they met. In particular for Gintoki, him meeting Kagura, Shinpachi, Otose, Ote, Kyubei, Tsukuyo, all the people that Gintoki has encountered, the Shinzen Gumi. They all have this presence. Like after meeting Gintoki, they end up finding themselves drawn to him and finding themselves to be able to, whatever they believe in, they will stand up for it if it means up to their last breath. And he, even though Gintoki and them were told by Yoshida Shoyo, because they did a flashback, to not join the war, and they went against his wishes. And even though Gintoki was to kill him, whichever you want to believe, is Yutsuro that killed him or Gintoki that told him, when they were describing Yutsuro, Yoshida Shoyo, you remember seeing him smiling at Gintoki. It's because he knew that even though he was dying, he had no fear in his eyes. He did not feel sad for dying, because he knew his student will be the one to defeat Yutsuro. He knew his student carried on his will, and he will be the one, along with all the friends that he gathered, all the companions that he's sided along with, will be the ones to destroy this darkness. Because Yutsuro is such a humanist, and he's going to plot to destroy basically the whole universe if he can. If they do not defeat him on Earth, he will be the one to destroy every single life force there is. And that being said, they're going to travel back to Earth now. The ending of the chapter signifies that they're all going to travel back to Earth. Everybody's going their separate ways for the time being, meaning Kamui and his father, Umibozu. But the thing that interests me the most about this chapter was what Umibozu had to say when he went to Koka's grave, where he also saw Kagura there placing flowers by her gravesite. The thing was, knowing that Umibozu faced head-to-head against Yutsuro, he realized during their fight that Yutsuro is not really immortal. Now that's strange, seeing how last episode we hear this guy cannot die. He's been living for almost over 500 years. There's no possible way to kill him because, I mean, many people have fought against him. And you mean to tell me this man who was on the verge of death, he figured out a way, but he's not too sure of it, so he has to continuously do a little bit more investigation. But he himself has found out that Yuzuru can die. He can be killed, but he has to look more into it before he can tell them exactly what it is, because he doesn't want to give them the wrong information and it backfires on them, and then everyone on Earth ends up dying because of wrong information that he received during their fight. So for the time being, while they're going to try to hold off Yuzuru while they're on Earth, you know, for him trying to destroy as much as he can, he's going to try to look further in how to destroy him. And I think the way he's going to do it is that he's going to look through, you know, Coca's history and her background, her also, you know, taking Altana into her body. He's going to try to look through her and through her corpse and everything, and possibly find the solution that is needed, and, you know, eventually help those that are on Earth. And knowing that they're going back to Earth, of course, we're going to see the reappearance of the Shinsengumi, and hopefully they have heard news or they have trained hard enough in order to give the backing that Gintoki and others may need, because this man, if he's not defeated, then everything that Gintoki has loved, all these characters have loved, is going to be lost, and it's going to be such a terrible feat. It's like everybody dies behind this man's hands, and he can't be stopped. So it's up to Umibozu to find out how to defeat him. What's that secret in defeating this, well, not really immortal being? And it's up to Gintoki to shed light on this darkness, on this shadow, and be that light, that strong soul that carried on the will of his teacher to defeat this, you know, this menace. So knowing that this is the start of the beginning of Gintama, you know, it's a bittersweet feeling that I have right now. It's really bittersweet knowing how long I've been with Gintama, and yeah, it's a bittersweet feeling, and I don't know how much more to describe it. But I mean, I'm happy and I'm sad, and I'm feeling a lot of mixed emotions, but this has to be the most craziest roller coaster ride of a series that I've ever been on, and I don't regret one bit of it. So when this series ends, I'm going to be very sad, but I cannot wait for future projects from Gorilla Sensei and what he has in store. Because this man, he's one of a kind. He's unique in his own right, and he deserves so much praise for creating such a series. So, that being said, if you saw this chapter of Gintama, chapter 595, how do you feel about it? How do you feel that Gintama is very close to its ending? I'm saying very close. I know what I'm saying. How do you feel about that? What will you do when the final chapter does happen? How will you act? What will you say? How will you feel? I would love to hear that from you guys. The links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. I'm Kimmy Chan, the Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!